BigHerc916, positivity, motivation, never settle for average. You know how we do it over here. You know, if you don't study history, you move forward in a place of lack of understanding, and oftentimes not knowing the place you're coming from, if it's based on truth or if it's based on lies. And a lot of what they taught us in school and pushed on social media about the civil rights movement and about helping the Negro after slavery and the government feeling empathy for the blacks is all bullshit, bro. It's all bullshit. And from day one, there was a way to try to figure out how to control the black population so that they could be controlled, because when they started really having big success, like Black Wall Street and some of these other townships that were thriving, they didn't like it, man. They didn't want that independent state within the United States. And what appeared to be a benefit, in a sense, the civil rights movement, getting rid of discrimination, being able to frequent and shop certain places, regardless of the color of your skin, it was a good thing in theory, but it wiped out a lot of black businesses. It made blacks now seek to go outside their own communities for validation. And it was also a way to destroy black economics, because a lot of these communities and neighborhoods that shop with blacks no longer shopped with blacks, but rather shopped with white establishments to further support their businesses, but also go along with the whole integration thing. You know, there were black bus lines in Alabama. There were black taxi companies. There were a lot of black businesses. And I'm not saying that the civil rights movement didn't have its benefits, and being able to get rid of, you know, whites only drinking fountains and restaurants, I felt was a giant step with this country. But at the same time, when you look at the underlining motive behind FDR, and then you tie in welfare with that, which eventually destroyed the black family. You know, 1950s, you had almost 90% of families had a father and a mother in the house. Fast forward today, you have maybe 15%. It's nowhere close to 80 to 90%, as far as, because what's happened is the black woman, the black family, has taken on the government as a daddy. And the guy who comes over and busts cheeks can't live in the house. And then there's no incentive for the mother to marry, because she's in this Section 8, maybe in a nice neighborhood, and so she wants those benefits. If he comes into play, those benefits all go out the window. And then now he feels like he can't take care of the kids at the level that the government can, so he's absentee. And that creates a void in the family structure, in the nuclear family. And then it just goes on. The kids are being raised by the state, you know, as far as the public school system. You know, there's all type of now animosity toward the father because he's not there. It creates a divide in the household, and now you maybe have multiple guys who are coming in there busting the same cheeks, and now you got kids from different fathers, conflict in interest, but she's getting more money, more checks. It's just a horrible cycle, man. That whole welfare program supposedly, was set up to help those in need to get on their feet, but it became a crutch. And the more benefits you throw at somebody who's used to getting things for free, the more dependent they become, the less incentivized. It takes away their drive, their will to be independent. And at the end of the day, it's all about government control. It's the same thing I was saying about the long game with these guys, with the violence, with the communities, with the looting and the crime. That's the government's long game, because a lot of these young people, they don't know anything about state rights. They don't know anything about the sovereignty of the state. And once you become federalized, you bring in the federal government now to police that, you basically are in a whole nother jurisdiction. And I keep telling you, you guys don't read law books, so you don't know anything about Admiralty Maritime jurisdiction. You don't know anything about common law jurisdiction. You don't know anything about the corporate state or the republic state. You just think you live in a state. That's how blind, and that's why they come in there. It's not even a competition when they start prosecuting you guys, because you have no clue where you're at. You don't know what's going on in the courtroom. You don't know what's going on when you get arrested. You don't know what a summons is. You don't know what any of this paperwork is. But like I said, all this I'm building up from the civil rights movement, lack of education, government assistance, sucking on the government's titty, the government becoming your daddy. And, when you hear from me, a lot of times you guys say, oh, Big Herc, you're always beating up the black culture. I'm beating you up to make you take responsibility, so that hopefully you'll go and start making some changes in your behavior, so that you'll be more conscious of your choices. I got beat up by the system multiple times, and I had to bow down and go and sit my ass in a law library and read, man, and figure out how I got a decade of my life taken from me. You don't talk about, I talk about black excellence all the time, but you don't listen to those videos. You only listen to when I talk shit, and that's why they say positivity doesn't sell. And sometimes, if you don't hear from me, maybe from somebody else, that'll make a difference.
Grassroots thing. It was started in a nefarious fashion. As you move into the 1930s, FDR is the president of the United States. He set forth a commission, and this commission was tasked with how to deal with the issues of the Negro. The commission started something called the National Negro Congress. And the National Negro Congress was a preeminent civil rights movement of the 1930s. And at its head was a man by the name of A. Philip Randolph. The National Negro Congress was started with the help of Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union. So you had the feds and you had the communists who had a hand in the civil rights movement. The feds had an interest in using the civil rights movement as a means of agitating in the streets, the objective being to make local communities and states look incapable of self-governance. The idea being that if you can agitate the people, if you can cause riots and unrest, what that will then do is create a public outcry for federal response. And in so doing, you expand the role of the federal government. You basically usurp states' rights, because that's what it's always been about. The communists, although they use the same tactic, had a very different goal. Their goal was to use the civil rights movement to usher in Marxism into the United States and into the West at large by way of the Negro. The National Negro Congress set forth little brother and little sister groups. One was called the Southern Negro Youth Conference. They set up shop in Alabama, and they would often put on events and social gatherings for the youth with the objective of recruiting them to the communist cause. It would put on a lot of religious events in the South. And these events would be frequented by one Michael King Sr. in the 1940s. Michael King Sr. would go to Germany shortly before the rise of Hitler, and he was enamored of the 16th century theologian, the reformer, Martin Luther. And he saw what he perceived to be Martin Luther wrestling away authority from the Catholic Church through the Reformation. And he said, I can do that in America by calling men to embrace the social gospel. And so he came back to America and changed his name to Martin Luther King Sr. And then he changed his son's name to Martin Luther King Jr. because he saw himself and his seed as the one who's going to usher in the social gospel and move religion forward to embrace this Marxist idea, otherwise known as the social gospel. Martin Luther King would come of age. He wrote in his papers that he shocked his Sunday school class by rejecting the resurrection of Christ. He also rejected the deity of Christ. He didn't believe that Jesus was born of a virgin. He didn't believe in the literal existence of hell, and he didn't believe in the second coming.
So
But
do
yet
your
he's a Christian
homework.
pastor.
Don't take what he said or I said as gospel. Go do your own research. But look at what's going on in our society right now. Look at how they divide us. Look at what they've done with social media and the narrative for black culture. Read some Thomas Sowell. Just do your homework, man, and come back, leave a comment, and let me know. And when you talk about that, I'm critiquing the black culture because I like to see black excellence, man. I love to go places where you would think there's not a lot of us and you see us there in a positive nature rather than all this stuff they keep putting out with blacks just acting like animals. You know, we're way more than that. We're not all the same. And it's just like with anything else, you can't group everybody, but that's what they want to do. They want to group everybody as that's how they act. We don't all act like that, but we're very powerful in the sense where when we come into a room, we have a presence, and that's why they use blacks in a sense and the culture to usher in all these movements. You know, they hijacked hip hop. They hijacked, they used it, the sports. It used to be, the Negro League in sports. They didn't allow us in basketball. They didn't allow us in football. They integrated us into all that stuff, man, because they know that there's value there, but they also manipulated those who they put in high positions in those sports and in those entertainment venues so that they can control their narrative. That's why they have them with certain things come into play, saying certain things so that they can push the narrative by the machine. I'm just telling you to, use your own mind and start thinking out the box. Whether you like what I say or not, you don't have to. You can leave a negative comment, a lot of y'all do, or you can leave a positive comment, a lot of y'all do. But I speak from the heart. I'm not doing this to get paid. I'm not in here trying to be no tough guy. Oh man, you F this, F that. I'm not trying to be one of those guys. I'm not a super gangster, super thug, super OG. I'm just BigHerc916, and I see things and they talk to me. So I share it with you guys. I'm not rehearsing stuff. I'm not pretending to be somebody that I'm not, a character. I just feel like, man, for all the mistakes I made, how could I help somebody out there with my knowledge, my life experience, so that they can make a better choice of what I did? Because I hate seeing young men go to prison, and young men that look like me that I see that could have maybe made different choices. It's painful, man. I've seen guys in juvenile hall, little kids in there, bro. Little kids, broken homes, young men that are on a path to becoming career criminals because they don't have no guidance, man. And I do the real work, man. I do this stuff because I like doing it. I'm not getting a check from the state. I'm not getting a check from the government to come and try to help you guys and talk. I do it because it's just what I feel my calling is. And when you have that type of calling, a lot of times, people try to take advantage of it. They want to monetize. They don't want you to get paid. They want you just to give it all away. Well, I'm giving it away here, but I also do private consulting and one-on-ones. But at the end of the day, man, I'm going to keep putting the message out there because I feel like it's my duty. I don't want to sell you guys a false dream. The promotion of street life, all that shit is garbage. Be a nerd, be a square, be a cornball if that's what they call you. Learn how to play the damn violin, the guitar, the drums. Learn how to, do art, sculpt, cook, do mathematics. Be a square, bro. Be a scholar. Don't be no street dude. Don't worry about getting a bag or having a pistol. Get you a bag with some pens, some papers, some measuring equipment. Learn to be an architect. Do something big with your life, bro. Because these people from day one, they've been trying to destroy us, bro. You can be all you can be as far as with the potential and goals, but having a door open for you is the hardest thing. I already know when I go places, I got to talk extra just to get a simple acknowledgement. But if I was a different dude, man, boop, I'd be already in the game. Be already in the game, bro. I'm not blind when people say, "Oh, BigHerc." I'm not blind to racism. I know it exists, man. But God put me in this body for a reason. He obviously wanted me to somehow show others in my actions that what they can do or how we can work together. Otherwise, maybe he would have put me in a white body. Maybe he would have put me in a yellow body, like an Asian body, But obviously, he wanted me to have this particular look for a reason. And so when people talk shit, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Oh, you sympathize. No, for one, humanity-wise, we need to be able to help each other, and sometimes people that don't look like you help you. Most of my help has come from people that don't look like me. I'll just keep 100. I haven't been able to get one business going with anybody black. All my opportunities, Russian, Persian, Armenian, Mexican, Caucasian, I haven't been able to get anything going with anybody, but I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm not trying to pass judgment. I'm just keeping 100. I haven't been able to build anything, and when I try to, it doesn't work. And I'm not saying that I haven't ran across people I haven't been able to create opportunities with, because I have a writing partner that's black. But what I'm saying is, we got to learn to work together. Before you start pointing the finger, you wonder why you can't come up, because you don't want to work together. Blacks were working together better in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. Now, they don't put the Great Divide with the gang stuff and all the other bullshit and this and that. There's no unity in the black culture. There's a handful, and it is what it is. But I'm just telling you, man, don't get mad at me. Look around you. If you have been able to do that, hopefully through some, associates, and more power to you. But I'm just telling you my experience and trying to reach out and help other people. I feel like I was here for a purpose. I'm not saying that I can't connect, but I'm saying I love connecting and creating an opportunity. But coming together, having a knowledge of where we came from, how they try to destroy us, maybe that'll help you look at things better. And I'm not saying that be fooled by this, because there was a lot of guys that looked like me in the places I've been, and they were cold snakes. And there were people that didn't look like me that helped me out. And there were people that looked like me that were cool. So you can't judge a whole group of people. You can't go off the skin. You can't think that just because somebody, comes from your block that they're down for you. It'd be your best friend that'll rob you, that'll set you up, that'll cross you. It'd be somebody you think like, oh man, that dude's a racist. He'll give you the best opportunity. You doubt him, and then they turn around and open a door for you like, damn. And that's how God shows you stuff, man. God opens your heart by showing you the people you think that are least likely to help you, give you the greatest opportunity. That's why I don't push the racism shit. I'm not mad at white people. I'm not mad at Mexican people. My thing is America, God, America, family, bro. God, family, America. That's my thing, man. Take it or leave it, whatever it is, you call it what you want. I don't have hatred in my heart. I like to see everybody win. And, I I say this in this video about black culture because I feel like I have a calling, but this video is for everybody, you know. But I just want you guys to see that a lot of the shit they tell you is lies. And they put this shit in public books because they want to indoctrinate you and have you dumbed down and have you lacking the knowledge. And you got to do your research. And I'm not saying take everything I say or the guy in the video says, but just do your research, man. There's a lot of information out there, but they say if you want to hide something, put it in the book. Subscribe, share, BigHerc916. What's up? BigHerc916, and I would like to introduce you to Little Herc's Big Lessons. My wife and I decided to come out with a children's book series that encourages young children to be strong, to make good choices, and also teach valuable lessons. Lesson 2, Speak with Strength. At school, Little Herc's classmate Maria looked upset. The bigger kids were teasing her about her artwork. "Hey," Little Herc said, stepping forward, "Maria's art is awesome. Let's show some respect." The bigger kids shuffled their feet and walked away. Maria smiled at Little Herc. "Thanks, Herc. You're always brave enough to stand up for what's right." Little Herc felt proud. Speaking up is what strong people do. You can pick up the book, link in the description, share it with your
Officially,
kids.
I only got one real spanking my entire life. My mom did the best a 14-year-old could do, raising me with love and instilling values that will last a lifetime. I was a straight-A student and lived to make her happy. So how did I go astray? A horrible stepdad that stole my self-worth and invoked fear turned me into a person that I struggled to overcome. From skateboarding to selling drugs, gang banging in juvenile hall, I got caught the same way many young promising men get caught up. I struggled to find my identity, getting mixed up in shootouts, crime, and the adult entertainment industry. This roller coaster continued as I juggled college, hustling, and Hollywood, eventually catching a federal bank robbery case. I found redemption in prison while serving a 120-month federal sentence and came out a man on a mission. I became a social media influencer with over 500 million views on YouTube and a life coach mentoring people all over the world. This is my journey against all odds.